Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. They've been caught. The former owner of U.S. Mint Silver Blank Supplier and his paramour have now been arrested by the FBI. Let's explore. Indeed, what an amazing piece of news here. Finally caught, justice has been served. Looking at a couple of different sources here to talk about this. You may remember not long ago I did a video about this news, about how they had been wanted by the FBI. Indeed, this missing Auburn couple convicted of multiple counts of fraud, caught in the Seattle area, northwestern Washington actually, but Federal Way, Washington, an Auburn couple that went missing after being found guilty of 20 counts of fraud were captured near Port Townsend Tuesday afternoon, according to the FBI. Diane Renee Erdman and Bernard Ross Hansen were found located at the Hadlock Motel after the FBI received a tip from the hotel's manager who saw the story on King 5 News. It's just something about him, Trish Ulrich recalled. He liked to talk, and he was just talking a lot, and how he was working for the government, and he just quit. That's pretty interesting. Ulrich said the couple parked their vehicle in the back of the motel because they said they didn't want family members to see it. When I saw the thing about the FBI and what they were saying, I freaked out because I can't believe I had people like that staying at the motel, she said. Diane Renee Erdman and Bernard Ross Hansen were found guilty of 10 counts of fraud and 10 counts of wire fraud last July. In fact, there's another story here that talks a little bit about this as well, too. He was the former president and CEO, Hansen was, of the Northwest Territorial Mint, which is now a bankrupt company dealing with precious metals. In fact, you go to the website, now it goes to some sort of challenge coin production owned by veterans and what have you, and apparently they're still in business in some form or another. It forwards over to that, but nonetheless, really the best story on this comes from the Seattle Times. This is a pretty interesting article here that talks about the background. You also refer to my prior video on this, but this arrest has been made. They fled on the eve of their sentencing last month, April 29th to be exact, after being convicted of operating a Ponzi-like scheme through the now bankrupt Northwest Territorial Mint in Federal Way, defrauding thousands of investors out of more than $30 million. Seattle FBI spokesperson Steve Byrne said that Bernard Ross Hansen and his partner, 49-year-old Diane Renee Erdman, were arrested Tuesday afternoon in this motel, and we talked about that. Hansen, who was the president of the Mint, and Erdman, who was a manager of the business, were scheduled to appear April 29th in U.S. District Court after a jury convicted them of mail and wire fraud in a gold bullion scheme that prosecutors say victimized 3,000 investors. Indeed, Hansen had been convicted of 14 federal felonies. Erdman, described in court documents as a Mint's vault manager, faced sentencing on 13 counts. They failed to show up for their sentencing hearing, and the FBI issued warrants for their arrest, saying they were traveling in a small car with their dog. The Mint, which made coins and medallions and bought and sold and stored precious metals, and by the way also supplied the U.S. Mint through Metallic Art Company, as I referenced before, with blanks for the U.S. American Silver Eagles. By 2012, they didn't have enough assets to cover customer orders, according to the couple's indictment. Prosecutors allege Hansen and Erdman started using the investments from new customers to pay money owed to older customers in an illegal Ponzi-like scheme. The Mint, which has had offices in Auburn, saw bankruptcy protection in 2016 after Hansen and the company were hit with a record $38.3 million silver verdict in a defamation and invasion of privacy lawsuit brought in Nevada by a Los Angeles businessman. A grand jury indicted Hansen and Erdman in 2018 on charges that alleged The pair lied about gold and silver bullion shipments while using investors' money for personal luxuries and expenses, and to expand their business and draw in new victims. What a macabre thing. I mean, what a horrible, these guys, guy and lady essentially are sociopaths. In a defense sentencing memorandum filed last month, Hansen's defense attorney, Angelo Calfo, argued that Hansen lived a humble lifestyle and was motivated not by greed, but by responsibility. Calfo said that despite operating a multi-million-dollar company, Hansen lived in a modest home and wore the same humble shirts and jeans each day. The indictment claimed that more than 50 people who had stored their precious metals at the Mint's Federal Way and Auburn offices found $4.9 million in bullion missing. 20 customers involved in a bullion leasing program were defrauded of an additional $5 million, according to the indictment. Now, again, I don't want to accuse of passing too much judgment, but, the whole futures market and the COMEX and the LBMA and the way that works, makes you wonder if something like that's not going on there. We know there's manipulation happening there, but when you're trading futures and for metal that's not there yet in the future, to me that just seems scammy to me. I don't know. I've never have gotten the whole futures market anyway in general. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why pay for something that down the road for what you can buy today and hold today? But that's just me. The indictment also alleges Hansen and Urban stole $1 million more from a Canadian silver bullion producer. So that's a little bit of new information there, that they're actually, caught in with other companies as well. Be curious to know who this Canadian silver bullion producer was. Federal prosecutors and sentencing recommendations submitted to the court before the couple's April sentencing hearing had recommended that Hansen serve at least 15 years in prison and be ordered to pay $33 million in restitution. Prosecutors planned to ask the judge to sentence Erdman to 7.5 years in prison. Hansen had previous convictions for possessing a machine gun and failing to report a financial transaction of more than $10,000. Urban does not have a previous criminal record. Well, there you go. So apparently, Erdman could essentially still have a quality of life after 7.5 years in prison. She would certainly be less than 60. She'd be about 56.5, I guess. But Erdman, being 62 years old, 15 years in prison, likely it's going to be more than that now. That's essentially pretty much would end, be near the end of his life. And there they can see both of them. And yeah, he looks a little bit rough in that photo there, but he has been captured. What an ordeal here, and what this has been. But nonetheless, it just goes to show you the lesson here, folks, is that, a company like that. I remember when Northwest Territorial Mint was a big operation. I had actually, and as I mentioned in the prior video, had gotten quotes from them for a custom minting operation that I had. Glad I never did business with them, but I did get some samples from them. They sent samples in the mail, so I actually got something from them free. But their prices were crazily, insanely high in order for the Medallic Art Company to produce something. But nonetheless, knowing that they had actually been involved with supplying blanks to the United States Mint tells us something here. But I should also mention that this story was posted in the comments section, or the outcome of the story a couple of days ago, that they had been caught. Pretty fascinating indeed. This is a video of what happened, just basically outlines what we had already talked about here, and showing the actual hotel that they were staying at. Kind of discreet hotel there, but there's images again, kind of blurry photos of them. But there's the car they were in, and they pulled around the back because they didn't want to be seen by, quote, family members. No, they didn't want to be seen by the FBI. But nonetheless, there is that little strip motel there, and where they were at, there's the manager of the motel interviewing there. So very interesting news indeed. So they've been caught. Good news. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Lesson here: hold your precious metals, folks, or make sure you know the person or the agency or the institution. if you're going to be storing them off-site. And be safe out there. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.